creativity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. With me today is Grace Redman, a charismatic entrepreneur, success coach, and speaker. A woman who has overcome personal battles, economic downturns, and built a top woman owned business. If you're looking for some motivation and inspiration, then you are in the right place. So stay tuned and let's kick the ball rolling. Hello, Grace, and welcome to Podcast with Sheila.
Oh, Sheila, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, sweetheart.
It's a delight, and I believe we are going to have a fantastic time here on this platform based on your background story. Do you mind going a
Oh,
little bit into your background story and then we'll go into the questions proper?
sure. I have been an entrepreneur for 26 years. And during those 26 years, I also raised my family. I experienced five economic downturns. I dealt like with all of us. We're not only working and building businesses, but we also life is happening. And so in that time, I also dealt with, addiction within the family. I dealt with taking care of my sick parents. So there were so many storms that happened during, these last 26 years. And had I not learned to, ride the storm and be resilient and really have an anchored mindset, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's for
Great.
sure.
Great. I wouldn't want you to unpack the whole story. Let's go bit by bit. So, you have a remarkable journey, I would say. What inspired you to become a success coach, and how did your personal challenges shape your coaching lifestyle or your coaching style?
Yes. So what inspired me to become a coach was, when I had my own journey and I learned that I can live a life that feels fulfilling and free and fun. I think we get so serious, we miss out on the fun. We don't realize that being playful and having fun really helps us attract opportunities and possibilities. So having been in a place where I feel like I wasn't having fun. I was too serious. I just allowed the storm to take me down. And then when I went to the other side, where I'm like, well, we can enjoy life while we're lifing. And I want other people to know these principles and the principles that I use. So that's why I started the success coaching side of the business, because I wanted everyone to know that despite your circumstances, you can create a life that you love and that feels good to you and that you're enjoying.
Great. That point you raised is a very crucial point, and I feel I'm at that point where you're living life and not having fun or enjoying yourself. And recently, I keep echoing it to myself that before you fool anybody, fool yourself first, because we tend to
Yes,
give ourselves out, forgetting about us, trying to satisfy ourselves, trying to give back to our own selves. We are always emptying out and not filling or filling up the container, if I should say. And I believe a lot of people find themselves in that category, especially for entrepreneurs, I'll say, because that's the life I live, and I that is my experience. Because once you start building, you want to continue to build, because as an entrepreneur, your results is based on your output. So if you're not
yes,
doing anything, you don't get any results. And you can clearly see that throughout the day. If today I've not done anything productive, I should know that I'm not having anything coming in successful or any story coming in. And that is the drive, really. And if you're not careful, that is going to push you till you're drained. So I like it where you've taken the story from. What are some of the things that you think people in my shoes or people like me will be able to do to find a balance such that we are taking care of ourselves and we are still being productive out there?
that's such a great question. And that's something that I continue to make an effort to master myself. I think it's a progress, not perfection. And one thing that really works for me is being intentional with my time and my calendar, believe it or not, and really blocking time and being aware of distractions. Because if we are reactive in our business, we're not going to create the results that you talk about. And so it's being intentional with our calendar, one, the intentional with this, like, not allowing distractions, being intentional with our energy, and also I believe How do you wake up in the morning? What's the first thing you do? I believe there, from the majority of successful people, there's some type of routine that helps you set the tone for the day. So that's where I would start with that. And we have to really be mindful of where we're investing our energy. We can't be everything to everyone.
I totally
And
agree
I
with
know a lot of
you.
us, are people pleasers and we want to be everything to everyone. However, that's not possible. And we need to delegate as well.
I like that. Delegate is the key word. I think that is a key word, and that's something I'm beginning to do. And it's another thing, it's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're growing your business and trusting people to do things for you. And most of the time, you you think they've not done it the way you would have done it, and that's another difficult place to be, where you trust people to do the things that you want them to do. So that makes it very complicated a bit. And I believe that we'll be able to take a lot with us, along with us, as the interview unfolds. But I'm coming back to
Yes.
you with you've thrived through 4 economic downturns and a global pandemic. What helped you to persevere when others closed their doors?
I really believe a key factor is mindset. And it is scary when you find yourself in a storm, especially an economic crisis, and it is easy to fall into a victim mode. However, each time I made sure that I stayed, anchored into a positive mindset, number one, and I kept the vision in mind. I kept the results in mind. And the way that I was also able to do that was to stay anchored was to focus on the relationships, my business relationships, my personal relationships, nurturing those, because when you are not in a victim mode and you're have a strong mindset, then you're naturally going to take that action to stay connected with your network and provide value. And so that's how I was able to overcome those economic crises, was staying in, a right mindset, one, and two, staying connected with my network and reaching out to them, asking how can I be of service? Because typically if I'm going through an economic crisis, there's other industries experiencing it. So I made sure that I was there to be a support. And so when they needed something, they came back to me, and
Wow.
I was able to, that's why how I overcame, 5 economic crises.
Well, I totally agree with you. I cannot agree with you any less with having the right mindset. And for me, I always say, if you're negative, I don't want to be around you, because there's so much going on in the world. The last thing I need is a negative person be around me. And anytime I embark on a project, the mindset is I'm going to be successful at it. I go in with that mindset even before I
Absolutely.
begin. Yeah. So I totally agree with you on the mindset bit. But your book, Can I Live, has resonated with many people, I believe. Can you share a pivotal moment from your life that inspired this book?
To share a moment from my life that why I
Inspired the
wanted
book.
to write that book. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was 19 years old, I knew that my life wasn't going the way that I wanted. I knew there was dysfunction, and I was guided to begin therapy at the age of, 19. And so I saw the same lady on and off for 25 years. 9 years ago, when I started the success coaching side of the business, she said, Grace, I hope I don't offend you. I want to be transparent with you. When I met you when you were 19 years old, I felt that there was no more hope left for you, that you were going to walk down the same path of dysfunction and destruction. And I said, I'm not offended at all. I feel, inspired. And this is a testimony to the will of us human beings. So that's why I wrote the book. It was the steps that I took to go from that lost, 19-year-old to the successful woman that I am today, and healthy in all ways, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially.
What are some of your challenges as a 19-year-old back then, and how were you able to overcome it?
As a 19-year-old, the challenge I had was there wasn't anyone that I could go to speak to about what I was feeling, because you didn't talk about your emotions or your feelings. You just got up, you went, and that was one of the challenges I had, not being able to go to anyone with how I was feeling. The second challenge I was having, I was finding myself in these very toxic relationships with boys, with the boys that I was dating. And internally, my intuition knew that I was going down a really bad route if I didn't do something now, because I found myself getting, abused emotionally, mentally, and physically. And I knew in my mind that that was not normal and that was not the way that I wanted to live. So that was challenging, navigating that on my own without having someone to go to talk to. And that's what led me to go to therapy.
Hmm. Great. You often speak about breaking self-imposed glass ceilings. What's one common belief that holds people back, and how can you break free from it?
That's a great question. I believe that one belief that holds people back is they don't have the belief in themselves that they can do it. When you're anchored in your conviction of, who you are and you can do it, anything's possible. So that's what I believe is the belief, is that most people believe it's not possible, that they can't do it.
Hmm. How are people able to know who they are? Because remember, when people get lost in themselves, it's very difficult for them to be able to come out of the dark place
Yes.
into the light. How can anybody be able to come back from the dark into the light and know who they are, such that they can live a fruitful life?
Yeah, it takes deep dive and reflection and really becoming honest with yourself. And one of the first steps I invite my clients to take is to really put your mess on the table and look at what are the areas in my life that are not working. And typically, that's where start to unravel and get honest with yourself, because you're already there, because you came into this world your true self. And then with all of these stories that you've been telling yourself.
I think we lost you right there, Grace.
Mm. Oh.
We'll give you a minute to come back, and then we take it from there. I'm seeing a lot of love on TikTok. Thank you very much, everybody sharing us the love, and on YouTube as well. Thank you very much for your kind words and for joining us with the banter. I believe we've lost Grace, but I believe she'll be connecting very soon. Um, so in the meantime, if you've joined us for quite some time now, you can leave all your questions below. When she comes back, I'll be able to give it back to her. I lost her completely on YouTube. Hopefully she's going to be able to join again with a link shared earlier. Yeah, she's here. Was that a call that came through?
I don't know what happened.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we'll take it back from people losing themselves and finding themselves again.
Yes. And so just, being honest with yourself. And, you talked about being in that dark place and just being really raw and honest with yourself. Put the mess on the table with no shame, because this is about progress, not perfection. And start looking at those areas in your life that are complicated, that are not working, and start asking yourself, what is my part and what is a story that I'm telling myself?
Yeah.
And then little by little, your intuition kicks in to give you the answers that you're
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Sometimes when we do an introspection of our lives, that's what you're talking about, isn't it? When we cast our minds back and reflect on where we've been. And sometimes, there's a song that says that list all your blessings and name them one by one, and then you see how far you've come. Sometimes it's good to list how far you've come And then you'll
Yes.
be able to reflect on the good. When I'm very down, I just go back and cast on my achievements and the things I've been able to achieve. Even in the most difficult times, I was able to pull through. And that the things I achieved in the most difficult times pushes me through, because then it reminds me that even in that situation, if I was able to do this, then I'll be able to do that. So that keeps me
Yes.
going. It's like, that is what
Yes.
you're saying, like unpack everything on the table and then try and push yourself through the mess. And I think that's a great one there. You've coached thousands of professionals through your staffing firm. What's the most common career mistakes you've seen, and how can people avoid it?
I believe the most common career mistake people have I've seen is staying in an position too long because you're afraid to make a move and you're afraid to take risks. And that's I see as the biggest mistake, which goes back to not believing in yourself, not believing you can, and being anchored in the fear as opposed to the possibility.
Okay, so somebody has left a message here for you on YouTube, and it's from John. He's asking, what's your perspective on happiness?
Hmm, that's a great question. For me, I believe happiness is a choice. I choose when I get up in the morning if I'm going to feel happy or sad. And also, we're not going to be happy 100% of the time. And that's okay because we really need to honor and feel, the range of our emotions. But for me, happiness is a choice. I choose how I want to feel. And that's the way that I look at it because I get to choose.
Great. I believe we've answered your question for you, John. In moving on, resilience is a key theme in your life. And I see that in all, as you narrated your story, I talked a lot about resilience. Can you share how your battle with cancer transformed your outlook on life and success?
Mm. So when I was diagnosed with the cancerous growth on my thyroid, I was told that I would never be the same again, that my health would decline. And in that moment, I thought, you're not you don't get to decide my destiny. I get to decide my destiny. So in that moment, I made a choice to be resilient. And it was painful. I did go through, it was emotionally and mentally and physically challenging and painful. However, I kept myself anchored into the future that I wanted. And that was the resilience that moved me and got me through those challenging times. And so, like you talked about earlier, now that I look back and I was able to debunk the doctor's, story that I was never going to be the same again, that gives me confidence and resilience. So when I face other challenges, I just remind myself, I made it through that. I can make it through anything. And so that's what I believe resilience is so important because it prepares us for what's ahead.
Great. I think that I totally agree with you. And as I listen to you, I'm seeing two things keep playing back and back and back. I'm seeing resilience and I'm seeing a positive attitude. And for me, I also believe in words. So that is
Mhm.
what the doctor saw. And medically, he's giving out his diagnosis, like what he's seen. But as a person, are we going to take that in? Because those are words. And the moment you believe it, even though that is what the situation is at the moment, but the moment you believe it, then it's going to begin to manifest. And it's like
Yes.
accepting your situation and making it take control over you. But you did not allow that to, you were looking at the positive side, as in, this is what he's saying, but I'm going to believe that. And then it looked
Yes.
like your positive attitude worked for you. So in everything we've discussed today, we are looking at positivity, being positive, um, about whatever goes around you, whatever you hear, and the energies that are around you, even if it's negative, trying to shift it and make it a positive energy. Is that it?
Yes, it is. And I recognize, okay, that is a possibility. However, that's not the possibility I choose. And so just what if I'm not well? Well, what if I am?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think John has come back to his idea of um, happiness, but
Mm,
I'm going to read that out soon. Before that, I'm going back to you. I'm coming back to you, Grace. Many people struggle with a balanced life and career, with balancing life and career. As a mother and a successful entrepreneur, what's your advice for women juggling both worlds?
that's such a great question. And my advice for a mother struggling or juggling both worlds is we don't have to do it alone. It's okay to ask for help, because I believe there's a mindset where we feel that we have to do it all alone, and that's just not sustainable. And that's really is self-sabotage. So what I would say is ask for help, and if it's available to you, delegate and hire help, or trade with someone else, because you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone. You need help, and ask for it. It's okay.
I totally, totally agree with you. And sometimes I think based on the background and how you're raised and the culture and the perception of the space you find yourself, this becomes a very difficult topic to discuss. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, well, going back and as a Ghanaian with an African upbringing, and back then things were different. Our mothers would, even way before my mother's era, my mom was a full-time employer and was a mom. But back home, you get help, that you'll be able to afford a house help, you'll be able to afford some form of help, your siblings and others coming in. But when you move out of that environment into the place, into the outside world or the westernized world, that is a totally different environment and things are done differently. And no matter
Yes,
how you want to still be a mother and still be able to work because you've got bills to pay, and things have changed around the world, even back home
they
now,
really
things have
have.
changed. Yes, women have become full-time employees, employers. They've become business owners, entrepreneurs. They manage people under them in the office, and then they have to come home and be mothers and be wives. And
Yes.
just this week, I was having a conversation with my brother, and this came up, and I was telling him, even if we women wanted to do it, we will not be able to, because taking us out of the context, we are human beings, and everybody can stretch themselves as far. And there is a limit to where we can go. And then we break down if we keep carrying on a lot. And that is
Yes.
when I read your bio, I really wanted to see your take on this, because I find myself in that place as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who handles staff, people beneath me, trying to manage a business and grow it and make it sustainable, trying to keep my home together. Sometimes it's a whole lot.
Oh,
And it will
I
take,
still go through that.
yeah, it will take a man who understands you to to be able to give you the break. You get what I mean? To understand that she's tired, she may not be able to cook tonight, and accept it that tonight we may not be able to have cooked meal or fresh cooked meal. Can we go with a warmed meal? Make all of those adjustments and come in and help, that kind of thing. Because I believe a lot of people are going through that. And this part of the world, most of the divorce rate stories is centered on this.
I can relate to what you're saying, and also being a Palestinian American woman, I come from a culture where the woman does everything. We do everything, and so that's been ingrained in me. So even though I was an entrepreneur and I worked outside the home, I still do to this day take care of everything. And what I've had to learn, even though my sons are grown and my husband, they're grown adults and my husband's an adult, I've had to set my own boundaries, because I feel like I need to cook every night. And so I've had to set the boundaries and also change the story, because I used to have a story like, if I wasn't doing everything, if I wasn't cooking, if the house wasn't clean, then I wasn't good enough. So I had to really do my own mind shift and remind myself that even if I'm not doing these things, I'm still a good person. I'm still a great mother. And so that's where I've had to do a lot of the work, is also in my mind shift, because they love to go eat out. I don't have to have a warm cooked meal for them. They love when they love going to eat McDonald's. I don't know why.
I
So
think
part of it had to start with my mindset that I'm still a good woman and a still good mother and wife and person if the house isn't clean and the food's not on the table.
I totally agree with you. There are a few questions here for you, and I don't know if it's going to you or all of us, but is asking, do you still love your husband? Yes, of course, I love my husband. I believe that Grace loves, um,
Yes,
yeah, definitely.
I
And
adore him.
good. Where's the link to join? Unfortunately, you'll not be able to join on YouTube. You can just leave your questions, and then I'll be able to read it out to Grace. This is not the bit where you'll be able to join on, because it's a YouTube live, is the way it works. So sorry about that. But leave your questions and I'll read it out to her for you. Um, so in moving on, your coaching blends practical and holistic principles. How do
Mhm.
you integrate spirituality or mindset work into achieving professional success?
Well, I believe that the mindset and the spirituality is key to our success. We've talked about mindset already, and when it comes to spirituality, it goes back to having conviction in ourself, being connected to ourself, and if I can say this, the God of our understanding. Because if we, like we talked about earlier, like if we feel like we have to do it all alone, it's sabotage. And it's the same thing, it's spiritually. If we feel that we need to do it all alone, we don't ask for help, we're sabotage, because there is a power greater than us that's working for us.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a must to tap into that power, whatever it looks like for you, whatever you call it.
You've navigated deeply personal challenges, including addiction within your household. How did you
Mhm.
stay grounded, and what lessons did you take from those experiences?
Thank you. So again, staying grounded for me meant my meditation in the morning, my prayer, my walks, connecting to the power that's greater than me, being out in nature. And so that helped me get grounded to be able to navigate the storms around me. And it's not easy. It's not easy. However, we can use, when we're grounded, when we are meditating and praying and getting grounded, then we navigate the eye of the storm much better. And actually, we can use that energy of the storm to propel us ahead, to elevate us into something better. It wasn't
Okay.
easy. I'm not going to say it was easy, but when you don't lose yourself and you get hit with life's challenges, you're able to navigate it much better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. For me, every morning is my worship song is on from about 5 till 7:30 when I'm about leaving the house is on, and as I'm driving off, it's still on till I get to the place I have to be. I've done this for years, so anytime I don't do it, it's like I've missed something out. But there's never a time that I've not been able to do it. It's
Yeah.
it's become a part of me. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and that is who I am. And I think that
Yeah.
fuels my day, because
Yeah,
I
and
start
how's
it
it
over.
helped you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of questions now, and I don't know if I'll be able to read all of them, but I'm going to just scan through briefly and see. Somebody's asking, how do we define success, satisfaction, and fulfillment in life? Is that a question you'll be able to
Sure, how do I define success? Okay. For me, success means when I'm connecting to, again, I'm going to just, when I'm connecting to myself, the God of my understanding, and when I'm able to be present for my family, my business, my community, and I'm feeling good doing it.
Yeah.
For me, success is, yes, we want, of course,
Are we losing you?
want, oh, did I lose you again?
No, let's carry on. We can't see you, but we can hear you. So let's carry on.
Okay. And so that's what success means to me. Of course, again, like we talked about, most people define success when it in regards to money. Yes, money is freedom. However, it doesn't, like we talked about earlier, buy you happiness, buy you connection, buy you, emotional freedom, buy you your relationships. So success to me is being connected to myself and building strong relationships and being of service.
Well, I think I totally agree with you. For me, anything that gives me fulfillment is what I would call success. And what I like to do more is when I've impacted into somebody's life. And I always live by this mantra that what will people remember you for when you are no more? So I live my
Yes.
life making impacts in the life of people. And for me, if I'm remembered when I'm no more, that is success. I live the successful life. I live the fruitful life. I live myself to the uttermost best and fullest. It's not about money for me. For me, is making an impact, bringing joy and making life better for a lot of people who would otherwise not be able to on their own. For me, that is success for me. Using my giftings to be able to impact life and make other people's life better. I don't know if we've been able to answer your question, but that is it. I think he said thank you very much. Another person is saying, kindly address my question. Watching from Africa, I'm about to go soonest. Where's your question then? Let me see. I think we've answered your question. We've talked about success and fulfillment. We just did that, DC. So if you'd like to listen to it over again when it's done, you'd find your answers in there. So in wrapping up, Grace, what was your one piece of advice for anybody watching us today who feels stuck in their life or career and is ready to create a life they love?
Number one, believe in yourself. Have unwavering conviction and belief in yourself. And two, if you have a dream in your heart, if it's been placed there, it's for a reason and it's possible. And despite your circumstances, you can absolutely create the life or business that you love because it's already there. It wouldn't have been planted in your heart and soul if it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. Would like to say a massive, massive thank you, Grace, for coming on Podcast with Sheila today.
Oh, thank you so much, Sheila. I appreciate you very much. It was a pleasure being here with you.
It was a total honor, and I believe everybody who was able to join us today truly enjoyed this episode. If I wasn't able to read out your questions, please forgive me, simply because towards the end of the interview, a lot of questions were coming in and I missed a few. So please pardon me. But if you're listening in, this is season 2, episode 122 of our podcast series, where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring real life stories and experiences to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst that is, please drop us a rating. And if you've not yet subscribed, please do subscribe and follow us so that you'll be in the loop. Our prayer for you this week is that you become an advocate and a lover of peace. Remember, change begins with you. Until we meet again, have a brilliant week. Bye.